As the Berezay family celebrates 50 years of family reunions, we ask ourselves, where did it all begin? Eugene Ernest Joseph Marie Berezay was born in 1892 in Grooville, Jersey, Channel Islands. This was the family home in 1906. Eugene's parents were Jean Marie Berezay and Marie Louise Lagafric, both of French descent, with a strong Catholic background. Marie Louise gave birth to 12 children, of which 6 lived to raise families of their own. Eugene and brother Joe were born in Jersey. Eugene became an altar boy in the Catholic Church and could recite the Lord's Prayer in Latin and French. Here he is at the age of 5. You may be poor, but be honest, truthful, never be ashamed of your religion or nationality, and you'll get along fine, 17-year-old Gene remembers his father saying. At age 19, Gene and his parents, Joe and sister Jeanette, were sent money for passage to Canada on this ship for $80 per person. With 25 cents to his name, when he arrived in Cardston in March of 1911, Gene went to work to pay off his debts. At the age of 22, he was making $55 a month. In 1914, Gene returned to Jersey to report to the Army. The Army deferred him to work on farms instead of fighting. It was rumored he also went to look for a wife. Thomas Albiston was born in England, and his wife, Annie Catherine Jensen, was born in Denmark. Both families were Mormons who immigrated to Utah. Thomas and Annie raised 7 children, 6 of which were born in Smithfield, Utah. Edna was nearly 4 when the family immigrated to Canada in 2 covered wagons. They homesteaded in Taylorville, Alberta. At age 15, Edna was left to care for her father and younger brothers after her mother died. Thomas Albiston was very talented musically and played the violin, piano, and the guitar. Thomas and his sons played at many a dance on the Alberta prairie. In the spring of 1916, Gene and Edna started their courtship and eloped on the 17th of July to Kalispell, where they were married. They started their married life in the homestead, which Gene and Auguste Blunette had built back when Gene first moved to Canada. Gene and Edna worked for other farmers in the area to help build up their own little farm. Slowly, a little stock was added along with a cow and a few chickens. On the 17th of June, 1917, first son John Eugene was born. Glenn Thomas was born December 13th, 1918. In 1919, a great drought hit, and times were tough. By May of 1924, they had 4 sons, Jack, Glenn, Vern, and Lloyd. A 2-room house was bought and added to make a 3-room home. On April 27, 1926, the 5th son, Melvin Francis, was born, and Gene and Edna ordered 1,300 trees and planted them around the house and garden. On July 19, 1928, 6th son, Dean Albert, was born. In 1930, the family went on a vacation back to Mather, Manitoba. They traveled 2,026 miles in this 1928 Willys Whippet car. When Dean was 6 years old, the 7th son, Ernest Ray, was born. Not wanting him to be spoiled, another child was born, this time a girl. Marie Louise was born December 28, 1936. Edna missed Christmas that year, but brought home a special gift for all those big brothers. With the addition of a little girl, the Berezay house was splitting at the seams. They looked forward to paying off their debts and building a new home. This dream became a reality when Marie was a year old. A new home was built at the cost of $4,000. Gene said it was the best house in the country. Life on the farm was hard work and little play. Here Gene and sons Lloyd and Dean work as Gene's horse, Bolly, looks on. In 1942, sons Glenn, Vern, and Melvin were all called into the Army during World War II. Vern was the only one who went overseas. Glenn Thomas was Gene and Edna's first son to marry. He married Eva May Houellette on August 4th, 1940. On June 26, 1941, the first grandchild, Glenna, was born to Glenn and May. Then their second daughter, Lorna, was born April 29, 1943. John Eugene, commonly called Jack, was married on May 24, 1943, to Pearl Zella Stewart of Glenwood. On March 4, 1944, Lloyd Collin married Grace Crooks of Cardston. In 1945, the sons and daughters of Grandma Berezay and their spouses gathered together for this family picture. Grandma Berezay was 91 at the time. Laverne Joseph married Irene Grace Henry of Del Bonita, Alberta, on June 26, 1946, in Lethbridge. This family picture was taken the day of Vern and Irene's wedding. Jack and Pearl had their first child, Diane, and Lloyd and Grace had their first daughter, Shirley. A year later, Melvin Francis married Nora Vivian Spackman of Raymond. They were married June 27, 1947, in Raymond. In 1945, Jean helped Jack and Lloyd buy a ranch on the Milk River. In 1949, Jean bought Jack out, and in 1952, they sold the farm in Canada. Dean Albert Berezay took Enola Blanche Hoyt as his wife on February 20th, 1948, in Taylorville. October 3rd, 1952, Grandma Berezay passed away. She died 36 hours before her 100th birthday. It was a great loss to all who knew her. Gene later sold his half of the ranch to Garth Lishman, and the family moved to Cutbank, Montana, where Ray and Marie finished school. On March 6, 1954, Maurice Louise married Thomas Kinsey Watson, Jr. from Colville, Washington. Tragedy struck the Berezay family on July 8, 1955, when oldest son Jack was killed. After his death, Pearl, Diane, and Wayne moved to Santa Rosa, California. On June 23, 1956, the youngest son, Ernest Ray Berezay, was married to Marion Edna Nordhagen at Westby, Montana, and made their home at Plentywood, Montana. After the kids were all married and off on their own, Jean and Edna moved to Great Falls, Montana, where Jean retired in 1966 at the age of 73. Jean and Edna spent 22 years in Great Falls. They spent most of their winters in Arizona and did a lot of traveling. On April 8, 1962, tragedy hit the family again when youngest son Ray was killed in a plane crash. 5 days later, Lloyd's wife Grace passed away, and a change began in the family. That change became evident a year later on February 2, 1963, when Melvin and Nora's oldest daughter Anne was killed. The awareness of eternal values became evident. A dream came true for Edna in 1963 when Jean was baptized, and in May of 1964 her family was sealed to them in the Cardston, Alberta temple. Pearl remarried Don L'Italian, and they served a mission at Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. They live in Gilbert, Arizona currently. Pearl and Jack had 3 children, Diane, Wayne, and Gary. Diane and her 2 daughters, Paulette and Amy, also live in Gilbert, Arizona. Don is failing in health now and loves to have the family around to visit him. Paulette will be getting married on the 18th of October, 1997, to this handsome young man, Brian Abigan. Don't you agree Paulette is a carbon copy of her mother? In Redwood Valley, California. They have 3 children, Michelle, John, and Gina. Michelle married Jim Schnitz in July of 1991. There was a proud grandpa and grandma and great-grandma when Courtney was born. In July of 1995, Michelle and Jim had their second child, Kayla Lynn. Here we have all the happy mothers. Michelle and Jim and daughters Courtney and Kayla in 1997. Wayne with son John and Grandma on Christmas Day, 1995. Pearl and Jack's youngest son Gary lives in the Montana Development Center in Boulder, Montana. Glenn Berezay and his wife May lived and worked on a ranch near Sweetgrass, Montana for many years. They had two daughters, Glenna and Lorna. After retiring, Glenn and May moved to Coutts, Alberta. May passed away June 15, 1994 in Milk River, Alberta, where Glenn resides today. Glenn and May were avid fishermen, and this is a position Glenn loves to be in. If you ever wanted to know anything about fishing, Glenn is the one to ask. The oldest daughter, Glenna, married Neil McLeod. They live in Coutts, Alberta, and have 7 children. Some people are blessed with 1 set of twins. Glenn and Neil were blessed with 2. Can you pick out the twins? Nonetheless, it's a great-looking family. The oldest son, Dan, served a mission to the Oakland, California mission. He and his wife, Janet, live in Lethbridge, Alberta. They have 5 children. The oldest daughter, Brittany, is 13 years old. Her son, Garrett, is 12. Another son, Travis, is 9 years old. Now, Kaylee is 8 years old. The youngest son, Trenton, is 5 years old and is a pretty good dancer, if I remember right, from last year's reunion. Another son, James, served a mission to the Leeds, England mission. James and his wife, Jackie, live in Colehurst, Alberta, and they have 1 son, Curtis. And Jeff Heltborg live in Gresham, Oregon, right next to Portland. Debbie knows how to get you to the temple on time. The first twin, Pat, served a mission in the Phoenix, Arizona mission. Pat, with his wife Terry and 2 daughters, Kennedy and Madison, live in Phoenix, Arizona. Pat is a Queen Scout. It is kind of hard to believe this little precious bundle, Madison May, only weighed 2 pounds 3 ounces when she was born. She was 2.5 months premature. Pat's twin sister Pam and her husband Jerry Hochstein live in Calgary, Alberta, with their 2 children, Calvin and Megan. Calvin and Megan are real special gifts under any Christmas tree. Twin number 2, John, served a mission in the Independence, Missouri mission. And he and his wife, Christina, also live in Calgary, Alberta. Jerry makes up the second half of this look-alike contest. He served a mission in the Philippines, Navao mission. He and his wife, Donine, live in Calgary. They have been blessed with a little bundle of joy named Spencer. Glenn and May's second daughter, Lorna, married Terry Lund, and they live in Sterling, Alberta. They have 3 daughters, Benita, Wanda, and Artha. The oldest daughter, Benita, also lives in Sterling. Haven't we seen her on the rodeo circuit? Second daughter, Wanda, married Brent Clark, and they too live in Sterling. They have 2 young sons, Jordan and Chris. The youngest daughter, Artha, married Les McIntyre. They live in Vulcan, Alberta. Artha and Les have 2 sons, Tyson and Connor. If you run into this little bear in the wild, read his sign. Do not feed him. He's allergic. Vern and Irene Berezay live in Missoula, Montana, and have for 45 years. They served a mission in 1986 to the Arizona Holbrook Mission. Vern and Irene have 5 children: Donna, Laverne, Lori, Dave, and Rick. Donna lives in Missoula with her husband, Jack Piippo. Jack served a mission in the Helsinki, Finland mission. They have 4 children: Nicole, Jason, Eric, and Holly Lynn. You can wave back to them. Nicole served a mission in the Costa Rica, San Jose mission. She married Casey Gordon, and he served a mission in the Seattle, Washington mission. They live in St. Paul, Minnesota. Nicole and Casey had their first child, Haley Burnett, July 3, 1996. She is the first grandchild to Jack and Donna, and the first great-grandchild in Vern's family. Grandpa Jack thinks it's important to start your kids off on the right track. Oldest son Jason is an Eagle Scout and served a mission in the Paraguay Asuncion mission. He married Colleen Cates in 1996, and they live in Missoula, Montana. Their son Eric is an Eagle Scout and now lives and works in Seattle, Washington. He is the lead guitarist in the band The Elements. They just cut their first record this spring. Youngest daughter Holly attends Rick's College and will return for her second year at Rick's this fall. Vern and Irene's daughter Laverne lives in Boise, Idaho. She is a single mother and has 5 children: Scott, Tracy, Chris, Jeff, and Heather. Scott is an Eagle Scout, served a mission to the Brazil Fortaleza mission. He lives in Boise and works and attends Boise State University. Tracy married Jason McGregor in August of 1995. Jason served a mission in the Oslo, Norway mission. They live in Boise. Tracy is also a real Mickey Mouse fan. Laverne's son Chris graduated from high school this spring and works in Boise. Jeff will be in the 11th grade and works with his brother Scott. Heather will be in grade 10 and said she is going to marry movie star Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Another daughter, Lori, married Dave Posey. He served a mission in the Hong Kong mission. They have 4 very athletic boys and then little Amy. Their oldest son, Adam, is serving a mission in the California, San Jose Spanish-speaking mission. Adam graduated with a 4-year academic scholarship to Utah State. Their second son, Spencer, is serving a mission in the England, London South mission. He also has a 4-year academic scholarship to the University of Utah. As you can see, Spencer is also very talented on his feet. He'll have to put off doing this sort of thing for a couple of years. Their son Ammon will be a senior in high school this next fall. He just won first place in a duck stamp contest for the state of Utah. The youngest son, John, will be a freshman in high school this coming fall. He loves basketball and is the tallest of the Posey boys. Little Amy rules the roost in this house. She just turned 5 and looks forward to starting kindergarten this summer. Lori and Dave have a beautiful home in Sandy, Utah, where Dave is a CPA. Vern and Irene's oldest son, Dave, served a mission in the California Fresno mission. He married Janet Halliday. They live in Manteca, California. They have been blessed with 4 children: Paul, Matt, Melanie, and Mike. As you can see, they are a little shy when it comes to getting their pictures taken. Paul will be in the 11th grade, Matt in grade 8, Melanie in the 7th grade, and Mike is currently in grade 6. When it comes to baseball, these kids are all-stars, and summers are spent playing ball. Just ask Dave and Janet, who attend all their games. The youngest son, Rick, is an Eagle Scout and served a mission in the England-Manchester mission. Rick graduated from Boise State University in accounting. He married Wendy Olson. They have 3 children and are expecting their 4th child in October. They live in Winnemucca, Nevada. Their oldest son, Ryan, is 14, will be in the 9th grade. He is 6 feet tall and still growing. Jacob may not ever be 6 feet tall, but he has a big heart. He will be 12 and in the 6th grade. He loves soccer and is a real rock hound. Charcy will be in the 4th grade and will be 9 years old. She loves drama and crafts. Like her brothers, she loves computers. Lloyd Berezay and his wife Grace lived on the Milk River Ranch before Grace passed away on April 13, 1962. Shirley, Patsy, and Don were all raised on the ranch. The oldest daughter, Shirley, and her husband, Albert Griniger, are wheat farmers in Del Bonita, Alberta. They have 3 children, Marie, Justin, and Shauna. Daughter Marie married Gordy Card, and they live in McGrath, Alberta. She is a nurse. They have 1 son, Clay Ryan. The first grandchild of Shirley and Albert, Clay Ryan, turned 1 year on August 22, 1996. Do you think he will be a painter by trade? Their son Justin and his wife, Billy Joe, live and work on the family farm. They also have 1-year-old Tyson. He looks like he could ride with the best of them. The youngest daughter, Shauna, is married to Cam Wakefield, and they also live in McGrath. On March 24th of this year, the first daughter, Shelby Lee, was born. Just seems like yesterday when we were changing diapers and wiping running noses, huh, Shirley? I guess we still are, only now it's our grandkids. Daughter Patsy served a mission in the Texas South Mission. She married Russell Story, and they live in Great Falls, Montana. Patsy and Russ were unable to have children of their own, but made up for that through adoption. They have 3 children, James, Donna, and Patty Ann. James is 15, will be in the 10th grade. He loves sports and playing the piano. Donna is 13 and will be in the 8th grade. She likes dancing and also the piano. Patty is 12 and will be in the 7th grade. She likes the piano and dancing, as well as playing on the trampoline. Patsy and Russ also gave a home to Kevin Olson and his younger brother, Curtis. Russ and Patsy have very generous hearts. Lloyd and Grace's only son, Don, served a mission in the Brazil, Porto Alegre, South Mission. He married Janice Jacobson from Cutbank, and they have 4 children. They have Jason, better known as JR, Cody, better known as Wild Bill, Dacia and Angela, known as Sis. JR is an Eagle Scout and served a mission in the Anaheim, California mission. He married Julie Genzer on June 26th, and they live in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Cody is also an Eagle Scout and is now serving a mission in the Houston, Texas East Mission. He'll be home this winter. Dacia is 18 and just graduated this spring. He's looking forward to the future ahead of her. Angela is 15 years old and will be in the 10th grade. She is adjusting to her new home and school. For the past 13 years, Don and Janice ran a church ranch in Missoula, but are now in Alberta, Utah, running a church feedlot. Lloyd Berezay married June Orr in 1965 after his wife Grace passed away. Lloyd adopted her 4 children, but they were later divorced. A son, Monty, served a mission to the Rome, Italy mission. He married Zara Jane Tolley, but they were later divorced. They had 4 children, Stephen, Amy, Heather, and April. This is Zara with daughter April. These are Monty's children, Stephen, Amy, and Heather. Of course, they are all alike and a lot older now. Another son, Mickey, was called to the Denver, Colorado mission. He and his wife, Christy, are divorced. Son, Robert, served a mission in Arizona. He married his wife, Sue, and they live in Coots, Alberta, and they have 3 children, Bailey, Kennedy, and Paige. Another daughter, Patty, served a mission to Canada. She married Todd Lamb, and they have 2 children. On December 21st, 1978, Lloyd married Lorraine Miller. They served a mission to Manitoba, Canada. Lloyd and Lorraine live in Great Falls. Lorraine has 4 children. Her oldest son, Mike Denbor, and his wife, Shelley, have 3 children and live in Havre, Montana. Their children are Chad, 15, Nicole, 13, and Corey, 10. Another daughter, Diane, and her husband, Dick Heiner, live in Bedford, Wyoming. They have 4 children, Charity, 14, Kimberly, 13, Benjamin, 11, and Joshua, 9. Dave Denbor and his wife, Sandy, live in Pleasant Grove, Utah. Their boys are Tyler, 14, Brandon, 13, Joshua, 9, and Cameron, 7. Dave served a mission to Manchester, England. Adopted son Todd Denbor and his wife Cindy live in American Fork, Utah, and have 3 children, Brenana, 7, Miranda, 5, and Dallin, 2. This little guy looks like he'll be able to take care of his 2 sisters when he grows up. Gene and Edna's son Melvin and his wife Nora moved their family to Spokane, Washington in the late 1950s. On February 2nd, 1963, tragedy struck when the oldest daughter, Anne, was killed in a freak accident while sleigh riding. Many changes took place in the Berezay family after her death. Oldest son, Doug, served a mission in the West Australia mission. He married Victoria Moore, and they live in Spokane. They have 4 children, Jason, Monique, Janine, and Chad. Their oldest son, Jason, served a mission to the Independence, Missouri. He and his wife, Kim, live in St. George, Utah, and are expecting their first child in September. The oldest daughter, Monique, recently married John Andrew Cowling, and they live in Seattle, Washington. Daughter Janine is working and lives at home. Their son Chad graduated this spring from high school and plans to work and save for a mission. Daughter Maxine married Kirby Jones and they had 6 children. Maxine and Kirby are divorced. And Maxine married Stan Maurer. They live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. "23-year-old Joseph Morgan lives and works in Spokane. 21-year-old Joshua Eugene is serving a mission in the Sao Paulo, Brazil mission. He will return home this next month. 20-year-old Heather Lynn is a nanny in Denver, Colorado. She also plans to return back to Spokane this fall. Their son Danny is 18 and will graduate next year. Another son, Michael Ray, is 15 and lives with his dad in the Tri-Cities area. The youngest son, Austin, is 13 and will be in the 8th grade. Melvin and Nora's daughter, Connie, married Jay Legg and they had 4 children. Connie and Jay are divorced and Connie married Bill Wyckoff. They live in Hayden, Idaho. Her son Jeremy served a mission in the Sacramento, California, Cambodian-speaking mission. He plans to go into dentistry. Their daughter Carissa joined the service and studied nursing. She just recently completed her LPN training. Son Josh is 16. Another son, Jake, is 14 years of age. Mel and Nora's son Dennis is an Eagle Scout and served a mission to Virginia Roanoke Mission. He married Linda Argo and they have 8 children. The oldest son, Dennis Mark Jr., known as DJ, is 17 and is an Eagle Scout. Their daughter Sharice Nicole is 15 and in the 10th grade. Brandon Carl is 14 years of age and in the 9th grade. Jared Eugene is 12 and in the 8th grade. Their daughter Cambry Ann is 10 and in grade 5. Jordan McKay is 7 and in the 2nd grade. Levi Douglas is 5 and in kindergarten. The youngest son, Braden, is 3 and still at home with Mom. Dennis and his family live in Newman Lake, Washington. Mel and Nora's youngest daughter, Kathy, and her husband, John Stein, also live in Spokane. They have adopted 2 children. Their son, Jeffrey, is 6 years old and in the 1st grade. Kathy and John were recently blessed with a new addition to the family, Lindsay Ann. She is 8 months old. Melvin's family is famous for their muscles. Bruce is the family bodybuilder. He was called to the Cleveland, Ohio mission, but that changed to the Indianapolis, Indiana mission while he was in the MTC. In May, Bruce married Deanna Higgins. He instantly became a father of 4 children. They live in Newman Lake, Washington. The oldest daughter, Nikina, is 10 years old. Their son Quinn is 8 years old. Alexandria is 6 years old. And the youngest son, Miles, is 4 years old. The youngest son of Mel and Nora is Greg. He served a mission in the San Antonio, Texas mission. He's also an Eagle Scout and just completed a 5-year school to be an electrician. Greg and his wife Christy have 3 children, and the family lives in Windsor, California. Five-year-old Kyler Thomas is the oldest. Little Emily Ann is 2½. And the baby is Allison Christine, and she is 1 year old. Nora is happy to have all her children nearby, except Greg, who is in California. We lost Melvin on December 7th, 1993 to cancer, but as you can see, he and Nora have a real legacy to be proud of themselves. Gene and Edna's son Dean and his wife Enola have 11 children. They lost their second son, Dean Thomas, in 1953 when he was 7 months old. Dean and Enola are serving a social service mission in Regina, Saskatchewan, working with 5 different Indian tribes. Their oldest daughter, Jenny Lynn, and her husband, Dallas Erickson, live in Stevensville, Montana. Dallas served a mission in the East Central States Mission. They have 9 children. Maya and her husband, Kevin Fadley, and their family of 6 boys live in Logan, Utah. Kevin served a mission in the California San Diego mission. Dallas is 8, Brandon 6, Colton 5, the twins Mitchell and Marshall are 3, and there's the baby Ethan. Maya, do you ever feel outnumbered? Their daughter Taronda served a mission in the Philippines mission. She graduated from Ricks College and BYU and is now a part owner in her own business. The daughter Sheila lives in Hamilton, Montana with husband Monty and their 2 children, Samara and Conager. Monty served a mission in Seattle, Washington, and also as an Eagle Scout. Son Matthew and his wife Wendy have 1 son, Braden. Matt served a mission in the Uruguay mission. He is a Ricks College graduate, and they live in Ellensburg, Washington. Their daughter April just graduated from Ricks College and is working and living this summer in Logan, Utah, with their sister Maya and her family. Their daughter Gina has been a nanny back in Charlotte. Daughter Janae has been a nanny back in Charlotte, North Carolina. She plans to stay in Charlotte this fall and attend beauty school there. Frona just graduated from high school and is living in Boise, Idaho. She plans to attend Boise State University starting the winter semester. Jenny and Dallas's family has slowly shrunk to just the 2 younger boys, Dean 16 and Spencer 12. Time to cut back on that garden, huh, Dallas? Dean and Enola's son Murray and his wife Sherry and family live in Maple Valley, Washington. Murray has 3 children from a previous marriage, Todd, Amanda, and Robert. Here they are with their grandma, Enola, and a friend. Murray and Sherry have 3 children of their own. Their oldest son, Justin Anthony, is 10 years old. Tiffany Marie is a beautiful little 5-year-old. The youngest son, Bryce Daniel, is 4 years old. Dina Berezay and her daughter, Dusty, live in Cardston, Alberta. Dina is a single mom working about 4 jobs to make ends meet. Dusty is 17 years old and will be a senior in high school this year. The man in this picture is Dusty's boyfriend, Chad. He looks like he takes good care of these two. Rodney and his wife Cynthia have 2 children, Chance and Sherry. Cynthia has 2 children from a previous marriage. Their son Chance is 13 years old and in the 7th grade. Their daughter Sherry is 11 years old and in the 6th grade. Cynthia's daughter Monique and her husband Gary have 2 children, Shalane and Brandon. Her son Dennis and his wife Julie have 1 son, Zachary. Another daughter, Kathy, and her husband, Larry Scow, and family live in Cardston. Larry served a mission to the Swiss Geneva mission and is a Queen Scout. Kathy teaches school in Cardston. They have 4 children, Lindsay, 15, in the 9th grade, Tyler, 13, in grade 7, Jason, 8, in the 3rd grade, and Brianne, 6, in the 1st grade. Another son, Kelly, and his wife, Debbie, live in Logan, Utah. Kelly served a mission to the England-London South Mission and is a graduate of Ricks College and Utah State University. They have 3 children, Benjamin, 14, and in the 9th grade, Colt is 11 in the 5th grade, Carly is 7 and will be in the 2nd grade. Another son, Dan, and his wife, Michelle, have 2 sons, Derek and Adam. Derek is 11 years old and in the 5th grade. He is active in hockey, baseball, and swimming. Adam is 8 years old and in the 2nd grade. He also is active in hockey, baseball, swimming, and Cub Scouts. Dan and Michelle and their 2 sons live in Cardston, Alberta. Another daughter, Dixie, and her husband, Scott Kramer, live in Ogden, Utah. Dixie had 4 children from a previous marriage. Dixie and Scott have twin girls. Their son, Corey, is 15 years old and in the 9th grade. He plays basketball and baseball for his high school teams. Their daughter, Kara, is 13 years old and in the 8th grade. She also plays school basketball. Ryan is a 5th grader and a 10-year-old all-star basketball and soccer team player. Eight-year-old Tyson is a 2nd grade sports buff. Three-year-old Madison and Mackenzie are definitely look-alike twins. Another daughter, Carrie, was called to the Jackson, Mississippi mission. She married Ron Van Elswick. Ron was injured in a car accident when he was 16 years old, has been in a wheelchair ever since. Nevertheless, he is a professional wheelchair basketball player and is a pretty good water skier as well. Carrie and Ron adopted their own little daughter, Kristen, and they live in Elmira, Ontario. Another son, Josh, lives in Del Bonita, Alberta. He is a single father with one little daughter, Alyssa. It isn't very often all of Dean and Enola's children are all together. The Berezay Reunion in 1992 was also a reunion of this family. Here we have Dean and his 5 handsome sons. And Enola and her 5 beautiful daughters. Here we have all the boys and their wives. And the daughters and their husbands. Dina, you and Laverne need to compare notes. This looks like the whole family, but it's not. Some are missing, and they keep adding new ones every year. But it is still impressive. The youngest son, Ernest Ray Berezay, and his family lived in Plentywood, Montana. After Ray's death, his wife, Marion, continued to reside in Plentywood. Their daughter, Rhonda, and her husband, Tom Christensen, live in Lake Stevens, Washington, along with their 2 sons, Levi and Jamie. The oldest son, Levi, is 16 years old and will be in the 11th grade this fall. Jamie is 13 years old and has just graduated from the 8th grade and will start high school this fall. Keith and his wife Debbie lived in California for many years and just recently moved back to Plentywood. Debbie and Keith were both in the service, and Debbie gave that career up to become a full-time mother. Melissa, Debbie's daughter from a previous marriage, came for the first time with Keith to a Berezay reunion at Lake 5 in 1993. Melissa is 13 years old and in the 8th grade. Keith and Debbie have a little daughter of their own, 2-year-old Brittany. 5 days after her first birthday, she was diagnosed with a very rare blood disorder. She looks like a normal 2-year-old in this picture, but has undergone much treatment and surgery and still has a long way to go. Keith is a professional golfer and takes after his father, who is very athletic and loves sports. Rhonda must take after her mom. Now here's a side of Keith I bet you have never seen before. Looks like he's done this before. Kind of reminds you of Wayne Newton, doesn't it? Marion attended the 1996 Berezay Reunion and enjoyed a little fishing with grandson Jamie. The youngest child and only daughter of Jean and Edna is Marie. She is a single mother and has lived in Billings, Montana for many years. Marie's oldest son, Tom, is a bishop in Kent, Washington, where he and his wife, Julie, and 4 children reside. Tom served a mission in the Seoul, Korea mission. Their oldest son, Christian, is 18 years old and graduated in June of this year. He is an Eagle Scout and recently received his mission call to Argentina mission. Their only daughter, Katie, is at the age all parents dread, dating age. She is 16 and a sophomore. Jonathan is 7 years old and in the 1st grade. Michael is 4 years old. Marie's only daughter, Terry, and her husband, Tom Newman, also live in Kent, Washington. They have a 5-year-old daughter, Mackenzie, and a 1-year-old son, Joseph. Son Maury and his wife Tina live in Billings, and they have 3 children. Samantha, 17, in the 11th grade, Zachary, 11, in grade 5, and Brooke, 9, in the 4th grade. Ronald and his wife Cindy live in Colorado Springs, Colorado with their 3 children, Ian, 6, Ethan, 4, and Crystal, 8 months. Ron served a mission in the Albuquerque, New Mexico mission. Robert and his wife Michelle live in Frenchtown, Montana. They are both physical therapists. Robert served a mission in the Honolulu, Hawaii mission, and Michelle is from Hawaii. Their youngest son Dale just completed a first in the Berezay family. He just finished his PhD and will graduate in August. He served a mission in the Argentina, Buenos Aires mission. Dale and his wife Randallyn live in Los Angeles, California, and have 3-year-old daughter, Taylor. Marie and her family were all together in July of 1994. She has a lot to be proud of. With the addition of Terry and Tom's son, Joseph, and Ron and Cindy's daughter, Crystal, Marie's family is still growing strong. And now the fun begins. It was July 20th, 1947, in a place called No Man's Land, between the Berezay homestead in Canada and the Milk River Ranch in Montana, where the first Berezay Reunion was held. Those who attended the reunion were Jean and Edna, Jack, Pearl, and children Diane and baby Wayne, Vern and Irene, Lloyd and Grace, and Shirley, Dean and Ray and Marie. Vern and Irene were newlyweds of 1 year at this first reunion, and they sure look like it. Pearl and Jack's 2 children, Diane and Wayne, and Lloyd and Grace's daughter Shirley, enjoyed playing in the grass with empty, do those look like root beer bottles? Wayne was 8 months old at this first reunion. This reunion spot was missing a few things of what we are used to today. Grace and Jean play with the children and the family dog, while other family members watch. This is Dean and Lloyd watching the family gathering. Either that or they're hunting gophers. This is the whole crew, minus Dean, who is taking the picture. First few reunion years were held in several different places, but in 1954 we began holding them at Lake 5 Resort. In 1994 the Berezay Reunion started being held at The Haven at Seeley Lake, Montana. The property is owned by Vern and Irene and Jack and Donna. At the Berezay reunions, one can expect just about anything. Swimming and getting some serious sun is a great pastime, In 1954, these four brightened the beach. Glenna and Lorna have always been game for a good swim. The Lloyd Berezay family always brought those huge tractor tire inner tubes for our enjoyment. Or were they there just to entertain Donnie? The dock at Lake 5 was a fun area to hang around. Nicole and Arthur are having fun getting to know each other. This is Lorna watching Terry off the dock as he swims around on his tube. Nice shoes, Lorna. If you could water ski off the dock, you really accomplished a great feat. Way to go, Janice. Don tries to show us how agile he is diving off the dock. Way to go, Flipper. The most famous thing the dock was used for was to throw whomever you could off of it. Here Cody and Eric are playing King of the Dock. Doug threw Donna off so much, she made him curl her hair afterwards. By the looks of the job, I wonder if it was really worth it. Better keep your day job, Doug. At Lake 5, swimming and sunbathing was a great pastime. Let's look at a few of our bathing beauties. Here's Lorna back in 1960. Here's Doug and Wayne in 1965, a rare picture of Squirrel without his mustache. I say it's a rare picture indeed. Here's Terry in 1972, and Lori's in the doorway of the camper. Notice the size of the camper. You've come a long way, Vern. How about this group of bathing babies? James, Chad, Nicole, Angela, and Daisha in about 1985. Hey, JR, do you remember these days? Looks like your dad threw you off the dock. Better hang on to the shorts, kid. Here's one of those California girls. This is Paulette Lisher in approximately 1975. Here's another little bathing beauty, Nicole Piippo in 1972. Lounging on the shore was a common sight. Some liked the sun, like Dean's Girls in 1986. Some liked the shade. Some of us just like to sit. Either way, everyone enjoyed the company. Here Terry and Rhonda are hanging out on the beach. Diane's daughter Amy and JR are enjoying a moment together. And to think JR just got married. Thank heaven for cameras. Patsy's Patty and Donna enjoy a little swim. Here Wanda and Benita Lund taking a little sun in 1966. Holly, Eric, and Christian are have fun together, while Patty is in the foreground and Daisha is on an air mattress with a friend. Looks like Glenna had Marie by the neck to throw her off the dock back in 1960. Love those glasses. Here, 1-year-old Dan McLeod enjoys the water in his own little piece of the beach back in 1962. Is this the original son of the beach? Frank Berezay and his wife Sharon enjoy watching the swimmers at the swimming hole up at the new Reunion location in Seeley Lake. Watching our children was a usual pastime for parents. Here, Jackie McLeod makes sure son Curtis doesn't run off with this boat. Boats are another popular pastime at the reunion. Here's Wanda Clark's son, Chris, riding his own boat. It's filled with tiger power. This is Lester Campbell giving Jean and Edna and cousin Doris Berezay from Jersey Island a ride in his boat. Dixie and her twins, Madison and Mackenzie, are being propelled by Dusty. Kathy Scow's daughter Brienne and Carrie's daughter Kristen are being propelled by Grandpa Dean. Here, Shirley and Don are nonchalantly stealing Shauna's boat. JR, Jason Piippo, and Don are trying to get up behind the Piippo's boat. Oh, it looks like Don was dragging butt again. Here we have Rod, Maury, Kelly, and Keith showing off their manly physiques. Well, maybe their physiques. Faces tell a lot at a Berezay reunion. Check these out. Wow, it's our turn to ski. Poor boy, that water was sure cold. Vern, you need to keep it on top of your head, remember? I love those lips, Dina. Dang. I wish I was skiing. Come on, Mom. Can I keep the puppy? Yes, Grandma, you're one of the herd, too. Lloyd, is that really you? What can I say? Hey, it's none other than the man Murray. Okay, Aunt May, don't drop your teeth. I said you would see just about anything at a reunion. Now, this is definitely a couple of crazy Berezays. Uh-oh, who goosed Grandpa? Dad, are the fish ever going to bite? Now here's a truck full. Uh-oh, who's the real clown? We're having a great time. Gee, Grandma, I have a special chair just like you. Come on, y'all, let's sing Love at Home. Ride 'em cowboy, Irene. These are true rednecks looking for a date at a family reunion. All those pictures, and I'm too tired to take them. Come on, dear. We have to make our home. A little early in the morning, huh, Holly? Yep, I'm a Berezay. Yeah, Mom, I sure love this family. When you gotta go, huh, Keith? Ah, Jeff. You never know where there might be a camera. As we all remember, this was Grandpa's favorite spot. Looks like Neil likes it too. Whatever happened to that hammock? What is a Berezay reunion without the Saturday night talent show? We imported a lot of talent from everywhere. Here's Rose Anderson and daughter doing a traditional Indian dance. Do you remember this one, Auntie Nola? Here we have Michelle doing a traditional Hawaiian dance. Trying to teach this group the hula is a real challenge, but Jeff seems to be into it. Like those pants, Jeff. Glenn and his talent with the harmonica. Now here's Dixie and Kelly's kids singing Any Man of Mine. Now that's a physique. Whoa, Lloyd, you're looking good. Hey, Maury, does your wife know you're a cross-dresser? Here we have the three chipmunks. No, the three chipmunks. Robert, you look like you're having problems. That act must be catching on. Will the real Don Berezay cowboy poet please stand? Ah, there you are. We even had imports from the Washington Nile. Is this Bishop Watson? Or the Tooth Fairy? Or another one of those ballet school dropouts? Sometimes our acts are a little shy. We were graced with Esther Cheddar when she tenderized a chicken. We all know it wouldn't be a Berezay reunion without Leonard Newton. Some of us even have real talent, like Connie and Maxine, and Jenny Lynn and her family, and Glenna and Bonnie. Talented Ron can even sing and play guitar. We have lookalikes of famous people like Jenny's son Spencer and the TV star Steve Urkel from sitcom Family Matters. Our talent extends to all members of the family, not just a choice few. Here Mel and Nora do their part as pioneers. Here's Vern as a Grecian urn. Should have stayed in bed, Vern. Seems that Vern has many talents. Here he shows us what he learned in ballet school. Lloyd's always clowning around. Here he is with daughter Patsy and the infamous dog Puddles, which you can't see. Some of us even put on big productions with real props. Here is the Broadway production of Cow Patty and the Cowpokes. I'm sure you've heard of them. Or The Return of the Alien Berzeys by Dean's Family. Red Riding Hood never looked so good till Vern's family crashed on Broadway with this hit. Notice the legs. We have famous dance teams. Some are in costume. Some are in hiding. We have famous stand-up comedians like Kelly Bersey. And Laverne Stewart. Even famous sit-down comedians like these two. You gotta guess, who are these really? We even bring in famous bands for your enjoyment, like this famous family band and their hit song, There's a Bunch of Nuts Growing on Our Family Tree. Or this famous band called Roadkill? Is this for real? I guess so. People are even dancing. Here's Aunt May and Jerry. And Nicole and one of the twins. Your guess is as good as mine. Here we have Bruce and a friend. She's trying to teach him how to dance. Can we ever forget our jungle imports? They showed us the many ways tree moss can be used. Right, Jack? You gotta love those legs. At the Berezay Reunion, you see just about anything. Even Dean and Dina making bread. Twins Madison, Mackenzie Kramer enjoying a bath in the kitchen sink at Seeley Lake. Cousins bonding with each other to make eternal relationships. Teenagers hanging on to each other. We may even have found the missing link in family relationships. Lori was always monkeying around. Famous guests like Pablo, the traveling doll, even stopped by to enjoy the fun. We had Ryan Webster's baptism in the Seeley Lake swimming hole. We hold family auctions to make money to help support family missionaries and other expenses. Here we have our famous father and son team selling our wares. We have celebrated some great occasions at our reunions. In 1966, it was Gene and Edna's 50th wedding anniversary. And in 1976, it was their 60th anniversary. That year, the family honored Gene and Edna with a family block quilt. We may have started out small, but we grow larger every year. In 1959, it was about 36 in attendance. What will it be in the year 2000? Yes, a lot of water has gone under the bridge in the past 50 years, and a lot is yet to come. Many changes have occurred, and some were good, and some were not so good. But the greatest change was when we decided to follow the teachings of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and to become an active part of His church. So from child to parent, to grandparent, to great-grandparent, and so on, we grow, we learn, and we teach. In the Berezay family, our teachers have been some of the greatest. The measure of a man's character is not what he gets from his ancestors, but what he leaves his descendants. We have been left a legacy. Let us always see to it that this legacy lives on.